respected speakers on the dais, and all the dignitaries present in this room, wish you all a very good afternoon. We will be talking about renewable energy and technology and innovation in this. We all know that in today's energy transition and for achieving net zero, renewable energy is one of the most important lever. And for oil and gas also, it is the lever which can be achieved easily besides green hydrogen, CCUS, bio-CNG and other energy efficiency. We have eminent speaker with us. We have Mr. Arun Prakash, Chief Engineer, Production, Oil and Natural Gas Corporation, who will talk about wind energy potentials in ONGC Western Offshore Field. We have Mr. Benoit Martin, who will speak about molten media pumps. We have Mr. Shantanu Maheshwari. He will talk about the economic modeling. And then we have Mr. Vivek Javani from Dassault System. So not wasting your time, I would invite Mr. Arun Prakash to start with his presentation. Thank you.
Good afternoon all. Today's presentation is on wind energy resource assessment in ONGC's Western Offshore Field in India. India's coastline offers significant potential for wind energy generation, especially for a company like ONGC, which operates various process and unmanned platforms in India's Western Offshore Field. Primarily here the energy requirement is met through turbine generators in the process platform and through solar panels in the unmanned installations. And this paper presents an assessment of wind resource potential and suitable device that can be installed in the unmanned installations. In order to cover the entire stretch of ONGC's Western Offshore Field, we selected 3 platforms present in the westernmost, northern and southernmost part of the field, which are denoted as platform A, B and C in the map. In the study, data from 3 different sources were collected. First is the wind data collected at the ONGC's platforms A, B and C. Second is the wind data collected from the Omnibuoys AD6 and AD07 deployed in the Arabian Sea. These Omnibuoys are deployed by the National Institute of Ocean Technology for recording of subsurface oceanic parameters. And the third data source is the ERA 5 reanalysis data provided by the European Center for Medium Range Weather Forecast. These ERA 5 data are the 5th generation data and are regarded globally as an important data set due to their accuracy. Another important advantage of this ERA 5 data is that they provide long-term data and continuous data for any given location, making it ideal for carrying out potential assessment at any location. However, this data first needs to be revalidated by comparing with the in situ data before it is used for further analysis. The wind data recorded from different sources are in different height and so were first scaled to a common height so that they can be used for comparison and analysis purpose. Next, the ERA 5 data was compared with the wind speed data recorded at the Omnibuoys and the platform to validate its accuracy using correlation coefficient. And after validating its reliability, the wind energy data were used to analyze the wind patterns and calculate energy potential. On correlating the ERA 5 data with the Omnibuoy data and platform data, we find that a correlation coefficient of more than 0.8 is observed in both the case, which shows that the ERA 5 data have a good correlation with the in situ recorded data at the Omnibuoys and the process platform, and so they can be used for further analysis. Now let's take a look at the climatological wind speed variation at the 3 platforms. On plotting the monthly mean speed data at the 3 platforms, we can see the variable nature of wind speed throughout the year. Whereas a plot of the annual mean speed data shows that the average wind speed at the 3 locations is 5 meter per second, 4 meter per second and 3.7 meter per second respectively. At the same time, over a 30 years period, we said that while the wind speed is fairly constant at platform A and C, there is a slightly decreasing trend observed at platform B. From all these observation, we can say that among the three locations, the most suitable location for wind energy generation is at platform A, that is the westernmost part. As per variation with height, there is an increase in wind speed as the hub height rises, which corresponds to increase in wind power generation. Thus, the wind device should preferably be installed at the highest possible point at any installation for ensuring maximum power generation. Next, the seasonal variation in wind speed was analyzed. We can see that the wind speed is highest in the monsoon season, whereas it is lowest in the winter season. Hence, the maximum wind energy generated can be expected during the monsoon period. All the wind turbines that are available can be broadly divided into two types, horizontal axis type and vertical axis type. While the horizontal axis type are generally of large size and so have a high energy generation capacity, the vertical axis type have the advantage of being very compact, though with low power generation capacity. At the unmanned installations, there is a constraint in terms of the space availability as well as constraints due to the crane operation and helicopter operation that takes place there. Taking into account these constraints, it was found that the vertical axis type wind turbines are more suitable for installation at the unmanned platforms. In the field of wind turbines, a lot of advancement has taken place, resulting in devices of various size, shape and models being offered by different manufacturers. The different type of vertical axis type wind turbines available in the market were compared in terms of their rated power, cut-in speed, size, weight, price, etc., specifically taking into account the constraints of the unmanned platform, and accordingly the most suitable device was selected. Using the wind speed data and the selected model, the annual energy generation at the platforms A, B and C has been estimated as 2.15 megawatt, 1.86 megawatt and 1.76 megawatt respectively. With around 250 unmanned installations in the western offshore field and considering 4 number of turbines at each installation, the total extractable wind power capacity from the western offshore field is estimated to be 1.92 gigawatt annually from the unmanned installations. At the unmanned installation, the primary energy demand is for powering the telemetry system, instrumentations and the navigation lights. Currently, solar panels are utilized for fulfilling these requirements. However, using wind turbines as a complementary source to them offers significant advantage in terms of reduced battery bank size, leading to savings in capital expenditure and maintenance. Another notable thing is that wind energy is particularly advantageous during period of minimum sunlight availability, that is in the monsoon season when the wind speed are typically at their peak, as we saw in the previous slides. Thus, they offer a good complement to each other. Thus, to conclude, the wind energy potential at the selected platforms A, B and C is promising, with the study demonstrating that the wind speed and power density are sufficient to support wind turbine installation. Among the 3 platforms, platform A, that is present in the westernmost part of the field, offers the best potential for wind energy generation. Vertical axis type wind turbines are ideal candidates for installation, and the total extractable wind power capacity for the western offshore field is estimated to be 1.92 gigawatt annually from the unmanned installation. Thus, by adopting these turbines, we can contribute significantly to India's renewable energy goals while powering offshore unmanned operations sustainably. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Arun Prakash, for your wonderful presentation. where you brought out how this unmanned offshore fields can be used for wind power, and you talk about 1.92 gigawatt potential. And this hybrid system can definitely help in enhancing the renewable energy capacity of this offshore field. Thank you once again. Now I would like to invite Mr. Benoit Martin, who will enlighten about molten media pumps. Over to you.
Okay, so good afternoon, everybody. I'm here to talk about multimedia pumps for energy transition application. So what is the link between multimedia, pumping, and energy transition? First, let's talk about the molten media. Molten media, such as molten salt or molten metal, has a very interesting properties that they can keep energy in form of heat for a long time at high temperature. So the function include heat transfer fluid to transport energy in form of heat, or also energy storage. So you can bring heat in the liquid and keep it for a long time. For example, heat from the sun, you could use it in the evening to produce energy. So the typical application would be chemicals. You would use to bring heat for a reaction, or related to what we're talking now is concentrated solar power. Over the last 20 years, there was a big boom on those type of application. So what are the opportunity for energy transition? Obviously the renewable energy, like CSP, but also there is research, advanced research for molten salt reactor and small modular reactor for the nuclear industry. So we're talking about molten liquid. You want to move that liquid, so you would need a device. Mostly, I would say a pump. So is it something new to pump such high temperature liquid? As far as I found in our archive, we have been pumping such high temperature molten medium since the 50s. Okay? And already then we were pumping lead or bismuth at 600 grades. And over the years we have been pushing the limits. We have reached 900 grades with NaCl, so which pretty high temperature. And we have been continuously pushing the limits over the decades. Then back in 20 years ago, we have been the first supplier for pumps for the CSP, the first hydraulic screw CSP plant, and the first solar tower plant. Most recently, we are collaborating with the technology developer for the next generation CSP, and also more globally for molten salt energy storage. I'll come to that later. So over the history, we have developed a lot of different, let's say, solution to pump molten salt with temperature up to 900 grades with very extensive capacity. So it's very important, depending on the solution or whatever developer wants to develop, to be in interaction, because we can do many different setup, many different layup, many different performance. But if we have a lot of flexibility, and if we talk early, we can optimize the developer technology. Still, there are challenges. One of the most important things is the material. The material properties will decrease with the temperature. The mechanical properties such as stress and creeping is coming, which decrease the material property over the time at high temperature. Also, the medium aggressivity, so of the salt, will increase also with the temperature. So this is very important when the developer wants to make his, let's say, development, to find the right material that match with his liquid and also with the pumping condition. Then we have the experience to validate if the material could be used with the material properties. Our challenge related to the high temperature, you could have thermal stress. I mean, the temperature distribution leads to different expansion and induce localized stress. So we need to design it the right way so there is no risk for the parts. There is also thermal expansion. For a 16 meter long pump, which is like usual in a CSP, you could have like 8 to 10 centimeter differential thermal expansion. So you need to cope with that. And another topic is the thermal gradient. You've got heat inside the tank, you don't want to cool it. It's cold outside, you don't want to bring too much heat outside. And then you've got the interface. Interface is critical because you will have a seal, and if you've got solidification, it could block the rotating part, which you don't want. So we have huge experience in that for all different conditions, and we have developed the right technology for sealing the pump and to manage the thermal gradient. Okay. Now, as I explained, there's a lot of challenge. Making it complicated, not so much for us. When you've got the right experience, you can easily overcome those challenges. So, as I said, over the years, from the 50s to now, we have been pushing the limits, as I said, different liquid, different condition, different design. Now, let's talk about the renewable energy. So back 20 years ago, it all starts with Spanish companies that came to us and asked for 400 centigrade pumps, 16 meter long. So the things that catching the light from the sun on the mirror, concentrated on the pipe with oil. Oil is the heat transfer fluid. This oil goes to a steam generator, and you've got a conventional production of electricity. But then you've got sun during the day. What about the night? So they bring the storage capacity of the molten salt, which require the pump. The thing is, because they have oil circulating there is a limit on the temperature, maximum 400 grades. So they wanted to increase the efficiency of those CSP plants. One way is to increase the temperature. You will increase the global efficiency of the process. So then they came with the solar tower, second generation CSP. You heat a central point at the top of a tower from an array of mirror, and then here you circulate the molten salt. So in that case, the molten salt is the heat transfer fluid and also the energy storage medium. That allows you to work up to 565 centigrade, which is the maximum temperature for which this standard salt is stable. Okay? Yet, they would like to increase, again, this efficiency. So this is what, as we have been working, collaborating those since the last 5 years, we've been, this is the two main projects I would say we have been collaborating. The first one is the third generation CSP with Gen 3, it's called Gen 3, with US Department of Energy and University of Wisconsin. The intent is to increase the CSP performance, as I say, by working at higher temperature. To do so, conventional salt is not suitable, so they work with chloride salt, so they could work up to 750 grades. Another project is molten salt storage. It's called MOS with EUDP funding from Denmark and Heim Energy. So there, it's more global about storage. So they want to store energy, so the storage part from the CSP from various sustainable sources. So you could see there, it could be photovoltaic, well, it's not shown there, no, it's shown there, wind turbine or whatever, CSP also, then you will store the energy. You use electric heater to heat the salt and you store it until you need it. And when you need it, you have different output. It could be, well, electricity production by steam generation, or it could be simply district heating, okay? For that, again, different salt, hydroxide salt with temperature up to 700 grades. Hydroxide salt has another advantage, it's much cheaper to produce, okay? But both comes with a constraint that they are much more corrosive. So it needs different material. So we have, I mean, Sulzer has been collaborating, investing money, investing time, and sharing the technology to provide a pump. Both pumps are installed now in those test loop, one in the United States and one in Denmark. We continue the collaboration to improve those equipment and even to go further with the technology. Yeah, so you see, this is a part over the last 20 years. We have been enabler for the first generation, second generation, and in the future we'll enable the third generation and more globally the thermal storage. Okay. So conclusion behind that is, okay, the technology for the pump exists. I mean, we have all what is needed. Sulzer is willing to collaborate, to share its knowledge and bring the solution to whatever challenge the technology developer would have in the use of molten salt for sustainable technology. That's my conclusion. You will be welcome if you want to talk more about that. We have a booth there down the Halle, 2F71. And otherwise, you can talk to me and contact any Sulzer people. They can help you on the topic. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Benoit Martin, for your presentation on this molten media pump. Sulzer is also already have a lot of experience on this, and I hope the industry benefits from this. Now I would like to invite Mr. Shantanu Maheshwari from Shell India. He would give a nice lecture to us or inform us about the economic modeling framework for renewable energy. Over to you, Mr. Shantanu.
Thank you, Mr. Sarkar, for the kind introduction. Yeah, so today I will be talking about techno-economic modeling for future energy systems. Through the talk, I would like to convince you first why we need this techno-economic modeling, and second, how at Shell we are using this techno-economic modeling to accelerate the energy transitions. I am Shantanu Maheshwari, which is working as a researcher in systems modeling team, which is a larger part of computational science group at Shell Technology Center, Bangalore. Before we go forward, I would just like to give a disclaimer. This is not an investment talk, so based on the presentation, please don't make an investment in Shell. That's all. So yeah, net zero emissions by 2050. This is a heart of Shell strategy where we would like to achieve net zero emission by 2050. So what net zero emission means is not only means the emissions from our operations, but also from the energy products that we sell. Now for a company like Shell, you can imagine that accounts for more than 90% of our emissions. Now, we support the balanced transition. Going forward, I mean, whatever scenario you consider, either from Shell or either from India, International Energy Agency or any other company, even 2050 and beyond, oil and gas is here to stay. Although of course the consumption should go much decrease from the current levels. So that means we would also like to provide oil and gas that the world needs today, but also transition towards much more low carbon, fuels. So that means we would like to lead where we have our most competitive strength. That means traditional oil and gas, but also build our portfolio where in the energy transition way beyond 2050. So this balanced energy transition not only create value for our investors, our customers, and society in general, where we can make most impact. So that means creating more value with less emissions. Now, of course, it is easier said than done. How we are going to achieve it? That's what I'm going to give you a glimpse of it. Uh, if you listen to, let's say, the ministerial panel discussion right after opening ceremony and different panel discussions over the past 2 or 3 days, we all agree that by this time there is no one solution that we can come up to which can magically lead to the energy transition. It's a mix of lot of energy vectors. It's a mix of lot of solutions across the scale, across the geographies. So how do we achieve that? Of course, at Shell we are also working at a lot of solutions, right from hydrogen to biofuels to electrifications. We have a lot of enablers like policy advocacy, trading, and investments not only in technology and R&D, but also investment in the low carbon fuels asset. So that means we have to invest a lot going forward till 2050. If we have to, if you heard about again a lot of panel discussions, energy transition can not only happen, let's say, by some policy changes, not only happen by just claiming that we will gain net zero emission by 2050. It has to be dictated by market. That means we have to make the green molecules or green energy cheap enough so that it's accepted by the society. How we are going to do that? So we have to make our investments profitable. So that's where techno-economic modeling comes into picture, where using our optimizers, we can tell when to invest, how to invest, where to invest. So as we go forward, I think to this audience, I don't have to talk about much energy trilemma, but for any future energy system design, we have to consider at least these three things. Energy security, that means we have to provide energy 24/7. Accessibility, that is a major driving force. The cost should be well within the, let's say, the current standards. Sustainable, of course, it has to be, should have lowest possible carbon emissions. So how we are going to do that? So these techno-economic models or the optimization models exactly going to help to achieve the future energy system design, considering all these three things in the objective. Now, I will be talking about some of these models that we have developed in-house over the past few years, and which is helping Shell to take capital investment decisions in low carbon energy sectors. So, as an example, for example, if we have to take a capital investment decision, we need a lot of data. It means like weather, energy demand forecast, technology cost curves, which is changing rapidly. We give all these kind of input to the models, optimizer. We give options like what we want to choose, what kind of technology options are available. Based on that, it gives us the output like what is the capital investment that we need, what is the levelized cost of energy that comes out of it, and what is the net carbon footprint of it. These models not only tell us, what to invest, but also when to invest. For example, over the project cycle of next 10 years, 20 years, we don't not only tell you have to invest everything in year one, but you can phase your capital investment in such a way to take advantage of things like changing energy demand or falling cost curves for different renewable technologies. Yeah. So these models help us or help Shell to for accelerated to take accelerated business decisions, and also to help these models help our research teams to invest. To see what are the cost of different technology we need in order to make any project profitable. And if you look at the inputs like weather data, energy demand forecast, technology cost curves, all this data we are talking about future data. What is the future weather look like? What is the future energy demand forecast looks like? No one knows the future, right? So all this input data is very uncertain in nature. What that means is we also consider those uncertainties in the model. So that means, okay, we are talking about this is the LCOE, this is the capital cost you need, but how much confidence we can say that we're going to get the IRR for this project, let's say 10%, 12%. These models help us to take the quick decisions with how much uncertainty we can claim that these projects are going to be profitable. So going forward, I will just give you the few examples, few use cases where we use such models which help us to take some of the investment decisions. First example, we have worked with one of the hard to abate customer in India, where they have the target they have a certain power demand for their asset, and they would like to convert that power to green power within 10 years. Now they have the target of 10 years, but also they would like to do it profitably. They have certain asset, like say fossil based asset, which they don't want to divest immediately. So that means we don't want to install everything in year one, but we would like to know at what rate we should invest in renewable technology in order to achieve the target in a most economical way. So all these sorts of constraints we can build in the model and come up with the kind of charts that you see, how much money you need every year and how you are going to spend that money every year in order to achieve those targets. I'm not going into the details of the numbers, but you get the idea how we are using these models in order to support energy transition. Another example, there was a customer for Shell in mining sector where they would like to convert their fleet, not immediately but in some time in the future, to complete electric fleet. Now for the electric fleet they need renewable power. So idea was they have of course grid connection as well, but they would like to build their own renewable generation as well. So the question to us was, okay, for a certain grid price scenario, what kind of different set of renewable technology they need? What should be the optimal size of it? What should be the least LCOE for these kind of, or a certain demand profile that they have set? Again, these kind of models helped us to determine very quickly how much investment you need, what is the size of each technology you need, what is the optimum mix of different technologies, help us to achieve those targets. Another example is for one of our own assets, is for RNG asset, where they have so where we're making a renewable natural gas, and we have a certain power and steam demand. Idea is to, again, there are some subsidies available in that market, how to take advantage of that and come up with the most optimal size of let's say solar, wind and storage to give to meet the energy demand. Again, we have considered the effect of the subsidy. We know the wind potential of that region. We know the grid prices going forward. Based on that, we came up with the the kind of how much money you need in order to let's say completely convert from fossil grid-based electricity to the nuclear electricity. We also come up with numbers like LCOS and how much effect it can have under various scenarios. Again, I'm not going into the details of a lot of key outcomes, but yeah, you got the idea. Another example where there was a green hydrogen production. We would like to know what is the best size of electrolyzer with the combination of solar and wind we need to achieve the green hydrogen production at lowest possible cost. Again, for a certain constraints on electrolyzer operation, how much ramp up, ramp down rates, we can come up with the right sizes of both of these things, considering the intermittency in weather as well. Now, with these kind of models, we can not only come up with the optimum size or the right investment schedule for the asset, but we can think of the optimizing the whole value chain for the green molecules. Now, there are certain regions which are renewable rich. There are certain regions where the demand for renewable products is very high. So what is the right vector of energy which we can use in order to transport from renewable rich region to the where the demand is more high? So whether you would like to let's say use a lot of solar and wind and transfer that electrons directly using HVAC system, or you would like to convert that to hydrogen and you transfer via pipeline, or you would like to convert it to ammonia and then transport via ship, or you would like to convert it to methanol and then transport by ship. So I'm just listing down few, but as you can see from the slide, there could be plethora of options. Now, which is the best one? If we try to go, and come up, try to analyze each and every option, you can imagine it can be very cumbersome. It can be, and there are so many options that by hand, of course, it's not possible. So these kind of models, these kinds of optimizers really help us to come up with a optimized whole value chain of transferring energy from one region to another region. It could be continents as well. In the same way, I would like to give the example of supply of energy from Australia to Japan, where we have considered, how we can transfer it. Now, Australia is a very renewable rich. They have huge potential for solar and wind, and we came up with the kind of options that you can see. Either you use that renewable energy, use electrolyzer, get the green hydrogen, do hydrogen liquefaction, put it in a ship, transfer it to Japan. Another could be you use either blue hydrogen, convert it into ammonia, transfer it to ship, and again either do ammonia decomposition or you use ammonia in different form. Same, you can also come up with can make a synthetic natural gas, and then transfer it like usual LNG, and then again regas and use it. What is the best option? So we came up with all sorts of scenarios using these models. Some of the typical outputs for these models, again, you can look at it. What is the technical cost for all these options? What is the process design? What is the size of each equipment you need in order to come up with in order to meet the given demand? What is the most optimized operation of when to send the ship, when to produce, when to shut it down, when to ramp up? All sorts of decisions you will get out of these models. So yeah, I would like to conclude here. In a summary, I can say that yes, these techno-economic frameworks are really necessary in order to go forward, in order to come up with a future energy design system where we really have to optimize our capital investment. These models can really help us to extract as much value as possible. So yeah, thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Mr. Shantanu, for your nice presentation on this techno-economic modeling and how it is important for a sustainable solutions. Now, I would like to invite Mr. Vivek Javani to take us through a virtual twin technology and how it will help us in achieving speed, scale, and sustainability in offshore wind projects. Over to you, Mr. Vivek.
Thank you so for this introduction. I see a lot of people going outside. I think it's the last session, so we'll try to make it light and interesting for the people who have stayed actually, okay? So a lot of context actually got built in the last 4 sessions, which my fellow presenters made. We saw that, I'm not going to say why green energy is important or why offshore is complex. We already saw that, right? So how do we achieve speed, scale, and sustainability, right? That is the goal which we have. So let us see what is the playbook today in terms of green energy, what we have, okay? So if you see the center part, energy generation, okay? So we have producers who are generating solar energy, wind energy, hydro energy, hybrid, okay? These are the 4 main. Now we have organization conglomerates who are trying to do backward integration, that I'm going to, manufacture this solar panel or manufacture this wind turbine, battery, so on and so forth. What do you do with the energy which is getting generated? Either you give it to the grid, or you generate green hydrogen, or you store it as a battery, okay? So this is the entire value chain what we are what we see in India, basically organizations doing, what it brings along with it, once we say that the de facto is going to be the green energy, even for the oil conglomerates and for the other companies, what it brings is that the transition what we are going ahead, okay, it is going to be, we'll need the speed. We don't have that, luxury of doing it in say 40, 50 years. Scale, we have to scale this quickly, and we have to sustainable. Here I'm not talking about the green sustainability. I think we heard about economic model. We are talking about the economic sustainability of the organizations. Okay. So in next 10 minutes, 15 minutes, I'm going to try to, present an alternative or present in way of doing it, that this is probably by leveraging the virtual twins, we can achieve this goal. That is something. And we'll take offshore wind as a case, but this is true for all the forms of energy. This is not going ahead. Okay. So we see why wind energy. Okay. If we see today, solar energy is the limelight. Okay. We are having a lot of solar energy. We don't have a sun at night. Okay. That's why wind energy is important. And why offshore wind energy is important? Because we will have much larger potential in terms of, we saw the potential in terms of how much potential offshore, okay, the winds are more probably stable. It will have its own technical complexity, but it will give us a better output, okay. That is why offshore is important. When we think of an offshore project being done, what comes to our mind? We may or may not be subject matter expert on that, but we see that the capex would be definitely higher, because we are trying to install something in the mid-sea, okay. It's not that we have a barren land and when just we are trying to erect one windmill. Technology maturity and performance, because especially in India, majority of the focus has been on the onshore part of it. So there are a lot to desire in terms of technology. Grid connection and integration, we will have everything which will go to sea will have its own complexity. Okay. Environmental challenges, you don't know what is going to happen when you are actually at the mid-sea. Okay. Maintenance and reliability, especially in the harsh environments, would be a key. Supply chain maturity, regulatory permission and management, okay, because you have to take a lot of permission. So what do you think would be the most key elements? You will have 30, 40, 50 contractors who are going to be working, who are coming from different strata, coming from different organizations, and there is going to be a developer who is actually going to bring this all together. So if I say that the most critical challenge or the differentiating factor, it's probably going to be collaborating, okay. When I say collaborating, it's not that I'm talking on a walkie-talkie and two people are collaborating. It is going to be the collaboration between the interfaces, technical interfaces, collaboration between design elements, change management in the project, and so on and so forth. How do you do that? Okay. So what do you mean by a virtual twin? I'm not going to put jargons, okay, virtual twin, digital twin, okay. This concept is coming from a product lifecycle management concept, which is not new, okay. Cars and the defense equipments have since years leveraged this concept of product lifecycle management. Only what we are doing is that we are going a step ahead when we say virtual twin, and I'll explain how. We start with the inception when we are doing the planning and concept design. I think this is the phase in which your majority of the cost is going to get committed in the project. You will probably start with the modeling interfaces, you will do the system engineering, model-based system engineering. We start with here, but we don't stop here. We take this digital thread to the design and simulation phase. In physical world, there are not going to be any undos, what you can do in software world. So we do the simulations, and these are not just the one-dimensional simulations, we also are going to do all the three-dimensional simulations in this particular phase. Once we are through this phase, we go to the EPC phase, and conventionally we are treating it as a different organizations are doing that. It's a EPC company, right? Even if I am an owner operator, I'm going to give it to someone else. What we are advocating over here is that let the digital thread be constant in this capex execution phase. We'll see in the next slides. And then when we hand over this project to the ultimate owner operator, let the thread again go to the operation and maintenance phase. This way, we will be leveraging a centralized platform with this digital thread, with people, processes, technologies all collaborating harmoniously and probably generating a possibility that we are successful in the energy transition endeavor what we are doing it. So what do you do in the planning and what do you do in the planning and design phase, right? So when we start, we are trying to see that we are actually ensuring the compliance with the best in class standards. How do you do that? Can we play the video, sir? Sorry for that. I think I am the only one who brought videos, so it's not ready over there. Okay. So what we are trying to say is that in this phase, when we are trying to simulate it, we are going to model it in a 3D world. The predominant benefits over here is that we are going to align or comply with the best in class standards. Okay. Pre-investment feasibility, we just saw that how we do. We bring in the learnings from that. We don't only do the economic but also the environmental analysis etc. is done at this stage before we go into the actual production. Okay. The licensing and permitting are also built into the same environment. Okay. Design opportunities while remaining compliant with the requirement at all the times. What we are trying to say over here is that we want to track the requirements and what are the functional, logical, etc. requirements, how it is getting built in the planning phase itself, where majority of your cost is getting committed. And finally, the traceability part of it, so that when you are going to the next phase of it, this traceability is maintained. Okay. Now we go to the most interesting phase of this, the EPC phase, wherein we see the physical asset is coming up. If the first phase was the one wherein majority of your cost is committed, this second phase is one in which your majority of the cost is actually expended, right? So here we are building something in a harsh marine environment, complex logistics, specialized infrastructure we are trying to build, special skills are there. How do you do that? We do that by creating a virtual twin for project excellence. We are not telling that we are letting go of our legacy tools. I am doing scheduling in this, I am doing cost management in my ERP system. No. What we are telling is that we are going to build we are going to leverage the data science experience, bring everything on one particular platform so that the transparency and decision making can be ensured. And this is not in a 2D world, this is in the right 3D world. All the issue management, risk management, compliance analytics are done on the same page. Yeah, the video can be played if possible. Okay, it's playing. So this is how particular we would imagine. I don't want to give a sales pitch over here, but if you have a platform, schedule will coexist with all the other elements which we are actually going to do it in terms of cost, risk, and so on and so forth in the downstream activities. Okay. How does it help actually? It will bring everybody on one platform together so that the chances of the success are basically increasing in this point of time. At the center you have the asset, around it you have all your KPIs, all your important information with respect to how you are achieving the end goal. This is an example of issue management in a 3D context. How does it help? It will help your engineers to contextualize in a more clear way when you are actually looking at the asset rather than a memo or a PDF file. You are basically trying to democratize the data consumption during the construction and commissioning phase, and multi-D project management obviously will not do just for the sake of it. We will do it because we find the value in it. So if we see that, okay, if by adding the 4th dimension of time I am getting the value, we will do that. Ultimately in this EPC phase, we will have the data right from the top level executive to the last level engineer who is working on the field, they would be leveraging the information, project information from the same back-end data. There is no days and months spent on aggregating the data from the field. It is getting generated at the point of inception, and you are visualization and taking informed decision at that point of time. These are the example of value realization across the EPC phase from EPC. These are the information which it's not new. Today we do, but it is in a disconnected way. What we are actually advocating that we should do in a connected way. Now an asset is created and it is going into the operation. So the same digital thread we want to continue over there. Operation and maintenance, when we say, okay, if both the videos can be simultaneously played, because I have only 2 minutes left. Can you just play the first video also? Okay. So what we are trying to do in operation and maintenance, the real virtual twin will come to existence when you are pumping back the real-time data which is getting generated from your IoTs in the field into the system back, leveraging the twin and actually improving your outcomes. And this seems theoretical, but let me give you an example for which the video in the second AI-based risk management. We have a lot of parameters which are impacting how much electricity is getting generated. Can you induce a risk virtually in the model and test what probably would be your energy curve? Would that be of immense use to? Okay, so the answer is probably yes. So by doing this, we started from the concept model-based engineering design to we have come to the end of operation and maintenance. Had this case been of say nuclear, I would also say decommissioning excellence, where this digital twin would continue, and that would be the end of the life cycle. That here we start physically, here we end physically, and this is the end. To summarize, okay, now this is playing. Okay, I'll just skip it. Okay. To summarize, virtual twin technology will integrate data, people, and processes in a single environment. Why do we do that? To support all the activities throughout the life cycle of the offshore wind farm or any other basically green energy or brown energy projects. With unparalleled collaboration driven by this technology, developers can accelerate their project execution, clamp down on maintenance cost, and scale up offshore wind energy. So I have saved 40 seconds still. Thank you for the patience hearing. And I represent Dassault Systems, who pioneers in virtual twin technology since last 40 years we are here. If you feel this interesting, please visit us at J11 as per your convenience. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vivek, for your nice presentation on deploying virtual twin technologies in offshore wind project for achieving speed, scale, and sustainability. I would like to thank all the speakers once again for the nice presentation covering different topics in the renewable energy, technology, and innovation. I would also like to thank all the audience for the patient listening. Though this session is the last session, still so many people were interested. And also the speakers once again for maintaining their time schedule. Thank you.